This will be my last video on the Fantastic Four franchise. Well, at least until something significant comes along. Just so you know, there will be spoiler talk and some slight strong language. As of recording this, we are in the 4th weekend since the film was released in cinemas or theatres. My local cinema, as well as others from around the world, removed the film the week after it came out. Now it's been put back in my local cinema but shown once a day. Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, which came out a week before Fantastic Four, is still high up in the box office charts and still going strong. You're about to see a week-by-week breakdown in box office numbers, both UK and US. Please pause and read to have a better look at the details. On week 1 of release, Fantastic Four was number 1 in the UK, number 2 in the US. On week 2, it was number 6 in the UK, number 4 in the US. Week 3, number 13 in the UK, number 10 in the US. Don't know what it is now in the UK, but this week in the US it was number 15. There's a typo on the date in week 3 of the UK box office, by the way. You can also notice that regardless the length of time that Ant-Man has been in the US cinemas, it's still higher up than the Fantastic Four. The numbers the film is bringing in are extremely low. If it was another production company that made, distributed and marketed the film, they would probably have gone bankrupt by now. You're about to see the global box office numbers. It shows that the film has made its budget of $120 million, but not its marketing budget of over $100 million. I do find it funny that everyone behind the scenes of this Fantastic Four movie had been doing everything they could to trash the previous ones by saying this one is younger, smarter, cooler, and edgier, and trashing the previous Chris Evans and Jessica Alba one, even going as far enough to remove the digital versions of the movies off the internet, when in actual fact the Jessica Alba and Chris Evans one is more Fantastic Four than this one. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy the cast. They are astonishing. I have nothing to say bad about them, but it felt less like a Fantastic Four movie and more like a sci-fi horror thriller type movie. The previous 2 Fantastic Four movies had made more money at this point than this one, which is really unfortunate. But after all that trash talking they did against the previous movies, they could not back up their words with this one. Everyone's probably aware of the drama surrounding the movie, from the director blaming the studio for its faults and vice versa. We also had a look at the B-rolls for the movie and had a look at what the script would have been like if the studio had not cut it for budgetary reasons. And I know I keep on saying the film was alright, but after reading and hearing and seeing what would have been, I have to ask, what the fuck happened? Like, the studio wanted to make some of that Disney Marvel money without spending what's needed for it. In it, Victor, Ben, and Reed are the ones who go off into the other dimension, being confronted by Galactus, who tries to kill them with the power cosmic, which is different from what we actually got of Victor touching some green ooze that looked like he came from the Ninja Turtles movie. However, Victor still gets stranded, and Johnny and Sue get hit by the residual effects of the power cosmic, and that's how they get their powers. We also learned that Herbie the robot was in that script, but I don't know how it would have worked out in a gritty and grounded take on the Fantastic Four. Victor was to be a spy for his country of Latveria, sending them details on his experimentations with Reed Richards on the alternative dimension, eventually merging with that dimension and becoming more like Ego, the Living Planet, where he would send copies of himself, Doombot, to do his bidding. The Mole Man was supposed to be the big bad in almost every incarnation of the scripts. They even hired Tim Blake Nelson to play him, but during reshoot they decided to turn him into some gum-chewing government prick. The Mole Man was the big villain in Ultimate Comics Fantastic Four Volume 1, but I guess the studio just wanted to go with Dr. Doom. In the B-rolls of the movie, we can see that scenes with the Fantastical were shot but left on the cutting room floor for some reason. It not looked like the comic book version, but who knows what the scene could have ended up being like. One of the scripts had Johnny Storm be the star of his own reality TV show and still have Ben working for the military. Another draft, which was a planned trilogy, had the Fantastic Four as villains and had Victor Von Doom as the main protagonist who was trying to help them out, and he was going to eventually be Dr. Doom in the 3rd movie. Makes me believe the film was hurriedly made, almost like it was an afterthought to the fact that the rights were about to lapse and go back to Marvel Studios, bundling something together just to make sure they hang on to the rights and hoping to make the kind of money its competition does, without audiences noticing the film's problems. It's like they really didn't have a clue on what to do with the Fantastic Four at all. But now that it's a critically and commercially unsuccessful film, the question on some people's lips are there any chances of the rights going back to Marvel? Some say no, but I think it's 50-50 and I'll tell you why. Quick lesson before we start, because there's a misconception that's going around that's seriously pissing me off. Well, before there was such a thing as Marvel Studios, Marvel Comics were on the verge of bankruptcy. So they had to sell the movie rights to a majority of their characters just to stay afloat. Most of those rights have gone back to Marvel except a few. That's why in one set of Marvel movies you see certain characters interact, and in another set of Marvel movies you don't. Marvel Studios cannot use mutants like the X-Men or Deadpool because those movie rights are held by 20th Century Fox, and from what I hear, 20th Century Fox do not own the movie rights to Fantastic Four. Those movie rights are held by Constantine Films. That's right, boys and girls. The same studio that gave us the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie that was never released but made. Basically, 20th Century Fox are the distributors of the Fantastic Four movies, kind of like how Paramount Pictures were the distributors of the Marvel movies until it was acquired by Disney. This is the third time the same studio has pulled off that same stunt. Yeah, first with Roger Corman's one, then with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans' interpretation of Fantastic Four, and now with the Miles Teller, Michael B. Jordan one. Let's get back on track and start with what some might see to be the worst case scenario. 1. They release a sequel by 2017. 2. They sit on the rights and release another reboot by 2023. Or 3. They do what they did with Roger Corman's version, which is they produce another reboot by 2023, sit on it, then do another reboot and release it by 2030, meaning we won't see another Fantastic Four movie for another 15 years. Some may see these scenarios as being a bit too extreme, but back when Fox had the rights to the Daredevil movie, Marvel went to them and said, look, you can hang on to the rights if you want, but if possible, could we have the rights to use Galactus and Silver Surfer in our Marvel movies? And Fox said no, and the rights went back to Marvel and they did a kick-ass Daredevil TV series. The middle ground scenarios are 1. Slowly introduce the Fantastic Four into the X-Men movies, establishing they are all in the same world, with a potential X-Men Fantastic Four crossover movie, like in the comic books, and if well received, do another standalone Fantastic Four movie. 2. Constantine Films goes to Marvel Studios and says we want the same deal you have with Sony Pictures, but that might be somewhat problematic because Marvel Studios has made amendments with their lineup of these 3 movies to accommodate their flagship character Spider-Man appearing in their cinematic universe. It could be tricky for Marvel Studios to pull off another juggling act, this time with Fantastic Four in their movies, and Constantine Film might want them to release another Fantastic Four movie by 2018-2019. That's a lot of pressure or responsibility to put on a film company. Best case scenario, the rights are sold back to Marvel at a reasonable price. Some might say, oh, just give the rights back. You can't give the rights back because there's still value in those characters. Not much value, but there's value in them either way. Another thing I forgot to mention was if the studio does plan to go ahead with its follow-up by 2017, not too many actors or directors would like to get involved in a follow-up to a movie that was poorly received, and basically the audience is more or less fatigued by Fantastic Four with how bad this one was. The movie has been tainted so badly with this interpretation that I doubt there'll be anything left to salvage. Their only option left would be to sell it back. A possible loophole in their contract could have been created where the lawyers at Disney could claim that the Fantastic Four movie has absolutely nothing to do with the comic books or the contract that was drawn up with Marvel, and possibly get the rights back. Time will eventually decide the fate of the Fantastic Four movies, but I will mention what I think should happen next with them. Constantine Films or 20th Century Fox, whoever's in charge of the rights to the Fantastic Four movies, should just get rid of their enormous egos and sell the movie rights back to Marvel. This is their 4th failed attempt at the Fantastic Four, and it's pretty obvious they don't know what to do with it. They have a gold mine but don't know how to mine it properly. So why don't you just sell it back to the original owners of that mine? Here's how I think Fantastic Four should be brought into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's if they had the rights anytime soon. First and foremost, do not have a Fantastic Four movie until after Phase 3. Most people love comic book movies, but after 4 missed attempts with the Fantastic Four movies, they've become more or less fatigued with those characters. The Fantastic Four and other characters connected to them can be slowly introduced through Marvel's lineup of Phase 3 films. So characters like Doctor Doom can be introduced in a film like Doctor Strange, as they are both connected through the mystic arts. And it will also give us a chance to be introduced to a villain as memorable as Loki. Annihilus can be referenced in Thor Ragnarok. However, I would love to see Beta Ray Bill have a prominent role in that movie. Ego the Living Planet, the Skrulls, Kang the Conqueror, Uatu the Watcher, Galactus and Silver Surfer can all be referenced in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Johnny Storm could have a small scene in the next Spider-Man movie, possibly even address the fact that Spider-Man used to be a wrestler. The Fantastic Four could be incredibly instrumental to the Inhumans movie as they were in the comic books. If the rights issues are somehow miraculously sorted out, maybe the Fantastic Four and some of their supporting characters can be introduced in Avengers Infinity War Part 1 or 2. Then do a standalone movie at the end of Phase 4 as they did with Ant-Man at the end of Phase 2. This all depends on if Marvel does get the rights back in the next couple of years. That will probably not happen, but who knows, only time will tell. However, the production company that owns the rights still make a profit if they sell it back. After I got out of watching Fantastic, someone came out and asked why a film with the previous cast could not be made, to which I believe is the time limit on their contracts had run out and the studios did not want to make a movie after Rise of the Silver Surfer was not a huge success. If Marvel Disney somehow miraculously got the rights back to the Fantastic Four, here's how I would cast it. I will take elements from the mainstream comics as well as the Ultimate Comics like they do in the Marvel movies. Getting actors that are in an age range between both books, meaning not too young, not too old. And for Reed Richards, I will go with Jake Gyllenhaal. Yes, we know he's a pretty boy, but as we can see from all his other movies, he can look, sound and act different from a pretty boy and bring something unique to Reed Richards. For Ben Grimm, aka The Thing, it'll have to be Tom Hardy. He has that rugged edge that can bring multiple dimensions into that character, and I can't wait to see him in the movie Legend. A part of me also hopes that they take a cue from the Ultimate comic books that show his rocky exterior is only a cocoon for his true self. And for the love of God, please give him some underpants this time. For Susan Storm, it will have to be Isla Fisher, an extremely solid and talented actress who deserves to be in a comic book movie. For people who don't recognize her, she was in Now You See Me with Jesse Eisenberg and she was in Wedding Crashers with Bradley Cooper. I'm sure some of you can see who I'm heading off to play Johnny Storm, and that would be Zac Efron. Yes, he's a pretty boy, but I cannot believe that he's lived that kind of life that Johnny Storm has, and he can do something different with it that we've not seen anyone do yet. For Victor Von Doom, I have to go with someone like Cillian Murphy, or is it Cillian Murphy? Don't know why, but he has that kind of look to Victor Von Doom that I think would really work. And plus, he is an extremely talented actor. If any of you have not seen Peaky Blinders, please check it out. If I was to think of actors much more closer to the age range of the main comic books, it would be a bit more tricky. But I can only think of one, Mads Mikkelsen, to play Victor Von Doom. He's a brilliant actor, but mainly because the way he speaks could work for a Latvian accent. I hear he's in talks with Marvel Studios to play Dormammu in the Doctor Strange movie. But a part of me really hopes that he's actually playing Baron Mordo, which they claim is being played by Chiwetel Ejiofor. And I really hope that Chiwetel Ejiofor is actually going to be Dormammu in the Doctor Strange movie. And just for shits and giggles, why not get Dwayne The Rock Johnson to play The Thing? Well, that is if he's not too busy playing Black Adam in the Warner Brothers DC movies. No matter what happens, they need to get Doctor Doom right. I mean, this is the ultimate bad guy. He is the guy who inspired George Lucas to come up with Darth Vader. And Darth Vader is still a memorable villain, and that is what Doctor Doom is. So regardless of it being Marvel Studios or 20th Century Fox, they need to get Doctor Doom right. And please, no more origin stories. We are way oversaturated with that. But if it did go back to Marvel, we would get to see them interact with Namor the Submariner. However, who knows what will happen next. But as I said, only time will tell. And when it does, I will let you know. Till then, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you for watching.